Hey guys, welcome back. So as per last video, I said we were going to run into now the refinement of structure and how to determine true structure versus what we call fractal structure. Now hopping back over to our PDF document here that we ran over. This is what the market, looks like, how it moves. And you know that as I showed you on EU, the market can break structure upward, but on a higher time frame, we are still downtrending. So this is what you would see, but then, this is what I would see 9 times out of 10 on a higher time frame, that we are still making a bearish movement and just producing that lower high. So this is where that noise in between comes in, right? As you can see in here, we are, breaking up to the upside, but we're still producing that lower high, for example, or sorry, higher low in this case. Or here, we're breaking lower, but we're still trending higher on a higher time frame. So these are just giving us swing points in the market to give us that true structure. And everything in between is what we consider fractal or noise. So you can really blank out everything with a white box here and really see how the market trends and moves on a higher time frame analysis. Now, we can go into, more detail on why certain points aren't highs, why certain points aren't lows, and that's all dependent on, schematics, which we'll touch on later on, running structure. But if you really want to, have the best explanation, as we learned last video, what does the high do or what does the low do? Right? Remember, everything's about cause and effect, right? This high is not broken, or hasn't broken anything here. So to me, this is not a higher point or a higher high because our high is up here, right? So that is, what we always want to be looking for. So if we go down and I basically show you fractals, well, what are fractals? It's that, that noise in between. The market will basically trend, it will move sideways, it will break itself multiple times, but if it's not running out highs and breaking true structure, it's not considered, viable to take an entry based upon. So if you look at this example here of a chart, I think this was taken off of gold, the red is your true structure. So we have the low, we have the lower high, lower low. You are now trading between these two ranges, right? This high and this low. Notice in here, it breaks structure, but it doesn't break this structure. This is fractal. This hits the POI again, breaks lower again. Not until we break down here do I consider a new lower high, right? Because we get that new lower low. So everything that happens in here, yes, you could have taken entries based upon refinement, but notice we break a high, we break a low, we break a high, we break a low, right? So it's all that fractal movement. And we can jump into order flow here and how the market, moves, and we basically shift into a downtrend and the order flow shifts as well. Because we've got buyers buying, then we have these sellers coming into demand and basically pushing the market down, right? So the fractals, as you see here, cannot change the higher time frame order flow. Meaning, if the market breaks up on a fractal, it still won't break a higher time frame unless it forms a breaker structure on the higher time frame, where we have down here. This point breaks us lower. But if we break higher and give us that low that produces a new high, we have then gotten our shift, right? So hopping back onto the charts, let's actually go into gold. I think gold is a really good example of this. Or actually, let's go GU. I believe GU is really nice. Let me open a new GBPUSD book. Right. So what we're going to be looking at is, the movement of price and how we can determine a structure. So, high, high, low, high, high on the daily, right? Swing points, right? Yes, you had heaps of breaker structures in here. This is fractal according to the daily time frame. Now, this is where the market starts to get a bit subjective, a bit confusing to some people. Up in this area, you're probably like, well, isn't there fractals in here and true structure? There is, right? There is definitely true structure in here. But understanding the bigger picture is going to save you a lot of the time. Now, we'll run over this in another video on how you could have spotted this to be a distribution pattern, a Wyckoff distribution, and how to wait for it to occur before taking any entries, right? So this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing, right? And I'll show you why. You have a high, you have a higher low, you have a higher high. It holds the higher low, but it doesn't give you a new high, right? It actually gives you a lower low. So now here's your higher high, and now here it comes back up to touch it, but fails to produce a new lower low. Instead, it gives you a higher high. So do you see how the market starts to get a little bit confusing here? And why we need to start understanding why the market does this, rather than trying to just take entries everywhere, right? Because I can spot every single POI in here, right? Some people would have tried to buy GU from here, right? After this breaker structure, come back to the POI, it doesn't go up. It's always understanding why the market is doing certain things, right? But if we were to see this shift occur, do you now see how the true structure is holding, right? So as we started to come down here, we started to get that order flow shift. The market takes out highs like we learned with this level and breaks lower. It comes up and holds that level. Now look, fractal, true. Because this is the low that gave this little high here, right? So we want to violate that. And we did on this point. It did break higher here, but notice we never broke the high. So this is where we would consider this movement fractal, right? Then, this point here produced this low. Notice it does not break it. So this break structure was fractal. This pullback was necessary to hit the POI to then further contract to the downside, right? Really simple stuff, gets a little bit confusing, don't overcomplicate it. Just understand that, true structure is going to be much better and safer to trade than trying to trade fractal. So let's pull back to the daily time frame and let's go back, into it again, right? Now remember, this high up here gives you the true structure break, right? Subjective to say this does it as well, this one does it as well. So we broke here, but the market was actually just a fractal break. Didn't break this high, right? Then what does this do? This produces a push to the downside. But in the meantime, it pushed up. So this push up doesn't break the high, but it gives us the push to the downside, giving us a true structure break, meaning that's our new high. So a trick that you guys can do is put a line at the top of your high and put a line at your low, or where you expect your low to be. You can label this as your trading range, like so. Oops. And this will help you guys understand that you want to be looking for positions in this area, right? And this is where you can now come in, determine your POI, and boom, like we spoke about on GU last time, it takes off, right? But now, anywhere in here, there was breaker structures to the upside. But remember that higher time frame narrative was downwards, right? Down. So until we break this trading range, we're bearish. I don't care what happens on the 1 hour time frame, right? I don't care. Everything in here for buys aren't going to hold unless we take this high out. Yes, down here, watch. This, all these breaks, fractal movement. Everything is fractal. Can you trade it? Yes, you can. I do it. Should you trade it? Only if you're confident, right? Watch. Takes out the wick. Where's the POI? Right there. Touches it, continues. But where's your target? It's going to be at the POI. Because if we don't break through, we're going to drop again. So everything that happened in here, guys, was just the banks fulfilling what they needed to happen. Come up into their area. Now, once we got into there, notice how now we got that sudden movement sideways like we spoke about. And then we had our true structure form again. And then we got the big break off, the pullback, and the massive drop, right? All coinciding with that higher time frame analysis on GU. So fractal and true structure are very important, and this happens on every single time frame, right into the 1 minute. You know, you can see if you look up here on the 1 minute time frame, for example. Let me just show you. Right? This low breaking here, fractal, right? Fractal low, lows down here. Right? All this fractal movement, right? Breaking these highs, all fractal stuff, right? As a matter of fact, that's true structure in the 1 minute. Why? Because this high produces this low, right? Breaks up higher, right? Comes down past this area here, guys. Well, then we're going bearish. Why? Because this push gave you that high. Got it? Comes down. What does it do? Comes back up. Holds the high. I would have never taken this personally because of that triple top, but you can see it held the high. Continues that bearish movement downwards. Comes back up a second time to test, and then drops again. Now I can go in here and I can show you again how we have true versus fractal structure. Now this was on a Friday, pretty choppy price action for us, so you probably wouldn't have traded it. But as for the sake of teaching this, I'll show you, right? You have the high, you have low, you have the higher high. We've got to get under this low here, and then this one here as well to give us some sort of confidence to go lower. See, it comes back up, mitigates, and then drops through. Do you see how once it broke this little low here with these wicks, it maintained the high that got us lower? Comes back up, continues its movement downwards, right? Now, what happens, right? In here, after this movement sideways, see there's a resistance level there, right? This push up took out those highs, dropping lower, giving us a structure point, giving us imbalance, giving us a POI. This push up. What does the market do? This was news, comes back into it, and then drops lower. So this is how you can play your entries. And I can show you every single area. Comes up into the POI, drops. Comes up, drops. Comes up, drops. Comes up, drops. Like, happens time and time again, right? So just identify the fractal, identify the true structure, line them up, and basically take your trades accordingly, right? So hopefully that makes sense, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.